Hello and welcome back to the Parc Fermé, inside the Parc Fermé for podcast number 732. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
A.K.A. Negative Camber. You know why I've asked you here.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's exactly what I need you to do. Tonight, for your kind consideration, we've got some news to share. That's exactly what we're going to do on an off-race weekend, which of course means my co-host is here. You know her. Oh yeah, you love her. She's in our nation's capital on the right coast of America, nestled in our nation's capital, doing all kinds of like math stuff and statistician stuff. Who knows what she does? You love her. It's the lovely, the redoubtable Grace. Grace, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
I don't even know what I'm doing. It's fine.
I try to explain it, and some people ask me, yeah, I listen to you and Grace. What is it that Grace? I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
who knows?
I don't know. I mean, it's more mysterious if nobody knows, but it's really not.
I think so.
Not really that mysterious, but that's all
right.
I
just tell people you're holding court at Davos.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't get paid like that's what I'm doing though.
Right. Yes. So, Grace, did you have the opportunity to watch the Spanish Grand Prix from Barcelona last week?
I did, and I just want to put a shout out to my friend Hillary, who's recently started watching Formula One racing because her kids watch Formula One racing.
Oh.
Because kids, right? And so it was. So I texted her before, like, the race is on at 9:00, or like I give her a heads up either Saturday or Sunday, like when the race is gonna be on, and then like a few laps in, I go, oh, make sure you watch this one, because usually they TiVo it and watch it later, right? Yeah. And because they have kids and they're out doing life stuff, as opposed to me who at 9:00 is just like in the house watching. Formula One racing. But so I tell her, oh, Portugal, that's, it's usually a pretty good track. It's usually a pretty good race. You should be prepared to watch that one live. And we're like 5 laps. And I'm like, never mind. I kid. It'll be good for a nap aid. Like, you don't need to watch it. So then we get to Catalunya and I'm like, don't watch it. I'll let you know if you need to watch it. And she's like, but you told me last week. I was like, well, yeah, but I'm telling you, Catalunya. So I don't know. I feel like that's where you guys really earn the extra zeros, is in the, especially a back-to-back like that, man. That's
it's back-to-back. If you need somebody to inject some excitement into an otherwise pedestrian race, you call on Paul Charsley, really.
See, he's a professional because he knows how to like stretch the best Spanish Grand Prix we could have expected into something that is a meaningful podcast.
I know. If you're, you ask, you ask for miracles, I give you PAUL.
That's right. That guy, he's a professional. But I was just like, wow, these are going to be 2 rough podcasts where you have to like figure out how to go. Yeah.
Well, and thanks to Turkey now, we've got a new triple header with France and 2 Austrian Grand Prix.
Right. Yeah. I was just great.
Paul's going to like rinse and repeat,
He'll just play the same podcast twice and just renumber it.
Yeah, right. We'll renumber it.
737, 738.
Right.
Just whatever. Keep going. It's Austria twice. Yeah, but the MotoGP race in France was a very exciting thing to some rain. So Marc Marquez is back, and now he wasn't back, so he fell off the bike twice. It wasn't
did
he?
But
he was doing really well until he fell off the bike.
Is Rossi having a full-blown come apart?
It wasn't. He's just, I mean, he switched to the alpha of the teams, right? He's at the second team now, so he's not going to be as good as Quartararo or something like that, and he knows that, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't know. It's not good for Morbidelli either. So, but Quartararo did well, so I don't know. We'll see. It's been an interesting season so far. MotoGP. There's always a lot going on there, but 2 Frenchmen on the podium, so that was a first. So
how about that?
Enjoy that. So I'm just telling you, if you were like, Portugal, Catalunya, watch Le Mans, watch the MotoGP race. That? It was pretty good.
Look at that. 2 Frenchmen in MotoGP on the podium. Pierre Gasly back. Albon. Look at all these French guys.
Yeah.
Doing well. Oui. It's extended my French. My wife speaks fluent French. Not me.
Je m'appelle. Like, that's all I got, right? Like, I got nothing.
Omelette du fromage. That's about all I know.
There you go. It's a very important phrase.
It is. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, boy. So we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot of news to talk about. Well, I don't know if it's a lot, but we've got some news to talk about.
We'll make it a lot.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make it a lot. And so I was thinking, we got a lot of Lewis in there. And I thought I had got Lewis pretty well covered in the news this week. And then Grace is all like,
what you know about rolling down in the deep when your brain goes numb?
Yeah, and then Grace sends me this text with the ultimate Lewis Hamilton story from the week. It just blew away anything I thought I knew about Lewis.
Well, shout out to my research department, which is Flip. He's the one that found that little bit of that gem.
Oh, it's a wonderful gem because it's a good one. We'll get into that.
All right.
Yeah,
it made me want the washer dryer as one appliance. Which I think was a possibility.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time seeing Lewis doing his washing and drying.
That was my comment too. I said, if I made that much money, first thing that's going is cleaning my house. Second thing that's going is doing my own laundry. I'm not doing my own laundry.
Right.
Nobody enjoys that. Nobody's like, oh, laundry. Like some people like to clean as a stress relief or
sure.
I do know people are like, I like to clean or it makes me feel like I've accomplished something. No, I've never heard anybody like folding laundry is my dream.
Yeah, maybe it is for Lewis. Maybe get the wash tub out and the washing board and he's over there, doing his underwear. Who knows?
Yes.
It's crazy.
I don't think that's what's happening there.
I don't think so. Hey, a quick note for those who just listen to the podcast and weren't aware that we also upload these podcasts to YouTube so you can actually see two talking heads discuss their favorite sport. Just to let you know, if you would like to actually watch this podcast, you can do that. Yeah. I'm not promising anything exciting. It's just two talking heads. I'm not going in and putting special effects and CGI and all that good stuff in there. I don't have time for that. But, some people... We had all kinds of people for years telling us to put them on YouTube, and I kept thinking, you guys don't want to watch just two people, two talking heads, do you? They're like, yes.
I don't know.
Okay, there it is.
Sometimes there's some cat shenanigans, and And as I told my family, it's going to be another month till we get home, so this is the closest you might get.
Right.
Right. Watch
never know.
Podcast.
One of these days, I might, hold up my guitar collection. I could just hold them up, and you guys could see.
That's right.
That would be good.
We'll go, ooh, that's
shiny. What's that? Oh, there's a Strat. Here's another Strat. Here's another Strat.
See?
So anyway, all right.
That's right.
Let's get into some news. First up, we're going to be talking about the new Lewis deal. Well, unlike last year when Lewis Hamilton was biding his time on a new contract extension, I said if I was Mercedes, I wouldn't have re-signed him, and I took a lot of incoming for saying that. Now, I explained my reasoning back then. I'm not going to rehash it now. There's no point in that. But it seems now that Lewis, who didn't seem very happy with his one-year extension and the last-minute deal that he ended up doing with Mercedes, he wants to start those contract talks much earlier this season and has thrown down a marker suggesting it needs to be done before the summer break. And here is what Lewis had to say about that. Quote, "It ruined my whole winter, and I'm sure it wasn't helpful for Toto's in terms of being out to be off and relax. So it felt like we didn't really have much of a break. I think we have to be sensible. Naturally, we don't have to rush anything, but I think we have to be sensible and start conversations. They're very complex. It's never a super simple procedure. And so hopefully soon we can start, as long as it doesn't interfere with the actual job. We still have 19 races to do, but it would be great to get something in place before the break, so then we could, again, be in that break and have a clear picture of the future," end quote.
I like the use of we. This is the same use of we when something needs done in the house and I really want Flip to do it. You know, we should really do the laundry today. I don't mean we, I mean you, right?
Yeah, right.
So, this is nice softening use of we. We need to start this early. We need to take care of my needs. You is what I mean.
Right.
I'm good.
Right. It's like when they have an accident or something, or they spin or something. It's like, we just need to look at that. It's like, there's no we, you blew it.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So anyway, now, all right, look, You'll forgive me, folks, if I'm struggling to find some empathy for a guy who makes $40 million a year, and he might have had a bit of a tough winter because he didn't have a deal with Mercedes. Woo, that's terrible. But, look, there's lots of people out of jobs, and there's lots of people that every winter get, that pink slip or that fear, anxiety of the pink slip.
Yeah.
But
I think even in the world of Formula One, right, which is not the same world that we transact on, right? That's not the same as you or I having to wait all winter to get a job, right? But I think the nervousness has to be on Toto Wolff's side. He's the one without a second driver if they don't sign Lewis. Lewis is going to be, he could go into music, he could go into fashion, he could go racing some other, so I think that the fear has to be much more on Mercedes' side than on Lewis's side. He'll be able to find something, Yeah,
I don't know. I kind of feel like Lewis, and I mentioned this when I wrote about it several months ago. Lewis overplayed his hand, in my opinion, and he held out for an extension that would allow him to win a title or two more. And then he wanted so what he wanted is a combination. He wanted to drive for a title or two more and then have a post-racing career. And he wanted a long-term deal in which Mercedes would pay him millions to use his, what he said, quote, platform to champion either Black Lives Matter or other equity causes. And I suspect that's still what he wants, but I'd be curious if that is how Mercedes wants to spend their millions of their marketing budget. I mean, who knows? They might. Time will tell. But it is kind of an interesting ask to say, well, look, I want an extension. I want to win a title or two more and beat the record. And then I want a long-term deal where I could be an ambassador for Mercedes and then do the causes that are really close to me, right?
Yeah, and I think another thing too is that maybe this is, I don't know, maybe this seems mean, but there's definitely a difference between social cause theater and actual social cause doing stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's one thing to ask Mercedes to do social cause theater. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll kneel before the race, we'll wear shirts, we'll, whatever. But that isn't what Lewis Hamilton is asking. He's asking them to actually do something. And so that may be more than the team was prepared to or do, right? That, it's one thing to say, okay, sure, well, you can wear a t-shirt or we'll put, Black Lives Matter on your car or something like that. That's theater and that's pretty mundane. But to actually align your brand with something, especially not knowing what that might be.
Right.
It's a little more risky.
Yeah. And I would think that
they didn't have the stomach for it.
That Lewis just brought on a new management to help him with his Project 44 and those kind of things. And I would have thought, well, and I don't know, he may have done this, but if you were going to Mercedes last fall and saying, yeah, let's do another year or two of racing and then let's do a long-term ambassadorship. Mm-hmm. And these are the cause, to do the causes that are personal to me. I would think that Mercedes, okay, but what's the business plan? Or what is that cause? Right. And what's the ROI? And what's the how many MQLs are we going to get out of this? And those kind of things.
That's right.
And I would think all of that would come into play. And I don't know if Lewis had all that, but now he's got a new management company. Maybe they will. I don't know. Right. And I just thought, gosh, at 60,000 feet, if Lewis wants to impact the equity of the sport, he should have filled out a job application for Chase's job, but that went to Stefano, right? He could possibly, though, run for FIA president since Jean Tot's tenure is up at the end of this year.
Well, that would be fun.
Well, that would be fun, wouldn't it? You have Lewis down at the FIA.
Scooting around.
Yeah, championing his causes and mobility and all the road safety and all that other stuff. So anyway, I'm thinking, to try to impact the entirety of a sport within the confines of a single team, that seems to be very difficult. Whereas impacting the entirety of a sport, whether you're in the head of the regulatory body or in Formula One itself, seems to be a little more achievable, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I will say this, though. I do think that the performance of George Russell and Lewis's car last year sent a shockwave of just how dominant that car is and how perceivably, I might add, easy it seems to be to drive, as George nearly won that race if it wasn't for some odd pit stop issues and completely uncharacteristic errors from a team.
I don't know where the gun is. Yeah.
Especially if you just consider what they just pulled off in Spain.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not buying that.
Nobody buys it. I don't think anybody.
I'm not buying it.
It was sort of like, which end does the gun go onto the wheel? I don't know.
Yeah, no. I'm not buying it. If I was
Nobody
George,
does.
I wouldn't be buying it either. You
I
know?
don't think he was, but
I had that race win. That was done. You didn't want me to win Lewis's car.
That's right.
So anyway, again, if I'm Mercedes, I wouldn't sign up for a multi-year, multi-million-dollar social justice role because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to be good stewards of the company's resources. Again, maybe they do feel that Lewis's brand and messaging will sell more cars. I don't know. Time will tell. But they didn't take the bait last year. I'd be a little surprised if they do in 2021. So I'm very curious about how all this will play out, considering that there are strong rumors that Mercedes may be making a play for Max Verstappen in 22. And we know they have George in the wings, and that would be a pretty mighty lineup. I think that's why Lewis is pressing hard for a new deal if those rumors are true, right? So he doesn't want to leave it to the last minute like he did before. He wants a long-term deal. He's got a new management company. They may be approaching for, a big deal to cut. But again, if I'm Toto, I don't have to do a long-term contract with branding and messaging and all this stuff, post-race career and all that. If I could get Max, who wants a winning car and wants to win titles, and Red Bull hasn't given it to him yet, that's incentive. So if I could get Max and move George over, sign me up.
And somewhere Ocon's just sad.
Yes, Ocon would be sad, but that would be sad to be sad. Because
I'm just saying.
George proved himself in that car.
Oh, I agree. I'm not saying pick Ocon over George Russell. Do not get me wrong. I'd pick George Russell too. I'm just saying Ocon's like, what about me?
Yeah, well, he doesn't.
Was your guy.
He doesn't have Mr. Robson over at Williams singing his praises in the press like he did this week when he said, "Yeah, I pretty much see the same earmarks in George Russell as I did when I was with McLaren helping Lewis when he came into the sport."
Nicely done.
There's something completely otherworldly about George.
Yeah.
He's just got this je ne sais quoi, if you will. I said I didn't speak French. I really don't.
There you go. Well, that was very good. But I think, okay, so I have two things. First is
the launch. Number one, the launch. No, go ahead.
Speaking French, so I watched the IndyCar race over the weekend that Romain Grosjean won. And
oh yes, I forgot to mention that he's a prodigious talent. He's a prodigious talent.
First of all, multiple people called him Romain. He's not lettuce. He's French. Like I'm sure in French, Romain Grosjean isn't right either, right? I get it, but Romain is not right. He's not lettuce.
He's not lettuce. It reminds me of the early days of Paul Page. Yeah, that's right. It's Joanne Pablo.
Well, so then I was telling Flip about that because we used to joke about, Joanne Pablo. Well, now they have Romain. I'm like,
Romain.
So I'm like, I really want him to wear a shirt, which he won't because he's a professional, unlike me, and isn't a smart ass like me. But I really want him to shirt that say I'm French, not lettuce, right? Right. Romain. That is not how you say his name.
What do they call it? Romain Grosjean?
I don't, I was just like, and then, there's like 4 or 5 announcers or whatever, and they all say it differently, which I thought was funny too. Like, one of these is right.
It's Romain.
Somebody during the course of this race, and it's not as if IndyCar doesn't have other, names that require non-English pronunciation to them or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's the first foreigner.
Well, they got Sebastian Bourdais. Come on.
I don't know.
That takes a modicum of French sensibility to even say his name.
That's right.
Seabass.
Why don't you just ask Sebastian how you say his name?
Yeah.
Right? I just thought it was really funny to me that they kept calling him Romain. I'm like, no, that is absolutely wrong. But anyway, so right on. Watch I think I actually watched the highlights of the race. I didn't watch the whole race, but right on. Romain Grosjean, good job.
Romain Grosjean.
He does have cookbooks though, so maybe he is lettuce. I don't know. My second point is I'm going to assume. I mean, your kids are the same age as my nieces, and so they used to watch this cartoon called Max and Ruby. And every time somebody talks about Max and Lewis, that's the song I hear in my head. Max and Lewis, Lewis and Max. Like it's Max and Ruby all over again. Every
Right.
time. And they keep talking about Max and Lewis. And I'm just waiting for somebody to splice those two things together because I think they were rabbits. It was a cute cartoon, but you know, Ruby was the older sister who always like pushed Max around as older siblings often do. But Max and Lewis. There you
Max
go.
and Lewis.
So those
boy.
are my two random thoughts at this moment, but I did want to mention.
I think those added a lot of color to this current story we're talking about.
It's occasionally insightful.
That's right. Well, hey, you know, if you listened and you were thinking, what? No, wait a minute. What is she going to say about Lewis? And Roman did well at Indy. Yes, he was on pole and he came in second in Indy. So now you are informed. Occasionally insightful. That's information about IndyCar, sadly, and not F1. But hey.
We'll
it's
get
motorsport.
there.
We'll get there.
To the occasionally insightful part that is motorsports, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I already informed you some occasionally insightful MotoGP.
That's right.
It's all the other series. That's what I watch.
So let's see if Lewis gets his contract by summer break.
Yeah, all right.
I'm going to say no. That's my guess. And if he does, it might be a 2-year just extension to drive. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I think
Toto, because Toto was already in the media this week saying, you know, dog whistling, you know, right now Lewis and Valtteri, they're our guys and I'm always loyal to them. But, you know, you do have to look towards the future and we've got some youngsters and there's a lot of other youngsters. And yes, Max is uber talented, but there's other young drivers on the grid too that we're looking at. So he's already hinting.
Of course he is.
Yes.
You know, he's not new to this job, right?
No,
like he's got to create a little, you know, kerfuffling on his side too, right? So
yeah, he's got to keep everybody frosty.
That's right. That's right. You know,
Yeah.
And Ocon's just hoping that he's talking about him.
He did mention him, but he mentioned him in the same breath as George. So
what? I wouldn't believe it's like, you know, like George and what's that other guy's name?
And
Alonso, not Alonso.
No,
the other one, the other guy, Ocon.
Yeah, Ocon. That's it. Yeah. So, yes. All right. So next story I want to cover. So I have a question for all of you out there. Are you tired of aching back? No. Are you tired of hearing about track limits yet?
No, because they haven't fixed it yet. When they fix it, then they won't have to talk about it anymore. Now will we?
It's like the season where all we talked about all season long was tires, you know, and how, oh my gosh, you just, stop. It's all we talked about, tires all damn season long. And now Pirelli have gotten a little more conservative and a little more durable tire, and we don't talk about tires. So we have to find some other pressing thing that can get everybody spun up and create instant drama every single weekend, and it's track limits.
That's what keeps us from criticizing the FIA for something they actually should be criticized for, right?
Yes.
Also, so I did learn that, you know, I had mentioned why not just use the sensors. Well, apparently they are not sensitive enough to actually use tax limits, right? But you know what is, and this is going to be my new idea, those things you put on buildings to keep pigeons from landing on your buildings, right?
Yeah.
The little, we'll see.
Yeah, you go wide, you cut a tire.
Right.
At 100 and some odd miles an hour.
Whatever, it's totally safe. That's what we got the gravel for. It's fine.
That's what we got Halo for. It's totally safe.
You're fine. I heard that it's okay for you to blow a
what?
tire. And just
Are you against safety? We have the Halo.
Right, come on. You're fine, people.
Come on, man.
I don't know. Of course it's a big deal. It
is a big
deal.
Week. It drives me nuts. Now we're talking about track limits every single weekend. I can tell you that Red Bull and Max are tired of it because Max Verstappen lost out on a race win, a pole position, and a fastest lap over track limit violations in the opening 4 races.
Right.
But this just in. Oh, wait. Breaking news. This just in. Ferrari's Chuck Leclerc.
Leclerc, yes.
Chuck Leclerc. I like that, Chuck Leclerc. He says,
That's like when they had the American Stig that was just a fat guy, right? Like
yeah,
Chuck
Yeah.
Leclerc.
yeah, this
Chuck
is
Leclerc. That's his
Chuck Leclerc.
American Stig.
I like it's the American version of Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
It's Chuck Leclerc. It's like Romaine. You know?
Romaine.
Yeah. You know, we're Yankees. We can't pronounce those European
what we do
names.
here.
It's
That's right.
Romaine and Chuck Leclerc.
Yeah.
So Chuck says he'd prefer the curbs, but in the end, he wants it simple and consistent. Here's what Chuck said. Quote, personally, I'd like the curb to be the track limit because we can actually feel the vibrations of the curb. With the white line, we are so low in the cars, it's very difficult to judge whether you are 2 centimeters off the white line or on the white line. So I like to have the curbs, but I just think that whatever is in place should be consistent. And I think this we all agree between the drivers that we just want something to be consistent and the same for everywhere. So then whether it's a white line or the curbs or whatever, I don't really mind, to be honest, end quote.
So before you're about to make the very valid point you're going to make, I'm going to make a jackass point first, which is, are you new to Formula One? You want simple and consistent.
No.
I mean, considering like the rules involving this are like, they're crazy. It's just like, because it just is like this wide berth so that they can say whatever they want, which is often how sports rules are. But I was just really, you and me both, Chuck Leclerc. I love something that's simple and consistent. That is all I've wanted out of the sport for the last 20 years. And guess what? It never happened.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Claire. Or shit. Grace. Charles Leclerc. Claire. What's your name, lady?
Who knows?
No, that's exactly what I was going
whatever.
to say. What Charles Leclerc just said, Grace, is that what he just said is basically what all the fans are saying.
Just pick something.
Just
We don't
pick
care.
something. I don't care. Put a bollard at this point.
That's
I don't
right.
care. Just do it consistently and make it
Yes.
easy to understand. Let's not. Well, turn 4, you got track limits, but on these turns it's okay to go wide, and then on this one is okay. But wait a minute. In qualifying, no, it's not good. But the race is good. No, wait a minute. No, it's not good in the race. That's during the race, right? So that's what he's saying.
Yeah, and I agree. So MotoGP, there was a couple, they had to do, Jack Miller had to do like 2 longest laps, right, as a penalty. There was like no drama. They were just like, oh yeah, he'll do 2 longest laps, right? And so there's like an extra little road that he has to go out around. In Formula One, literally, Crafty would have talked about this because we would have had to wait 20 minutes for them to like flash it up there and then make a decision. And what are we going to do? And then we would have had 20 minutes where we talked about, does he know? Is he going to do? It was like no drama mama. Like it was just like, oh, Jack Miller's got to do a longest lap for whatever reason that I now can't remember. And he just did it and we moved on as if this was like part of the process and not a big deal.
Done deal. It's a great point, Claire. I mean, Grace.
Yeah.
So
no problem, Darren.
Darren. In fairness, look, the circuit design has to accommodate multiple racing series, as Grace just mentioned, and many of those elements are focused on MotoGP. So safety is kind of paramount when you're going 100 and some odd miles an hour on 2 little thin wheels, right? Or tires. So
like this.
Yeah, like this. So that is a big deal. I get that. Where you might just say, hey, just put gravel or grass behind the curb and no one will go out there. And that's true, but that doesn't really work for MotoGP because you get people hurt doing that. However, that's kind of what Carlos Sainz was saying was grass or gravel. But Carlos said this, quote, I think the FIA and everyone is realizing that the direction that these modern tracks are following is probably not the ideal one for track limits. In the end, it's making their life very, very difficult. So yeah, respecting the safety standards, for me, the best solution would be put down gravel or grass after the exit curbs. Then we wouldn't have a discussion about white lines or curbs. In case of the tarmac, I agree with Charles that I prefer curbs to the white line because we can't see them. Now that makes sense to me. Are
you new to this sport? You've been watching the sport longer than I have.
I know. I should know better. Do you want to know what Mattia Binotto had to say about it?
Before you go there, I will say that I do think I agree with many people that the highlight of the Catalunya race was the team radio of Toto Wolff to Mike Messe. Like that was the best.
Yeah.
Tell Michael, get the blue flag ready. Like we need more of that. I think I think when they know it's a boring race, because we all know, right? Like 10 laps in, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna go like take a shower or something.
That was when Mazepin actually pissed off Toto Wolff.
Yeah,
What's it now? What's the matter with those twats down there?
Right.
So, I mean, we do all this time talking about like what to do to spice up the sports, and the kids, they don't have long attention spans anymore. And all this, like, we need sprinklers. Like, no, this is what we need. We need Toto Wolff, Colin Michael, or Christian Horner, Colin Michael, like whatever, just like you do with the drivers. So we get like, that was definitely, for not just me, a lot of people, the highlight of that race. And
it was.
They should do that more often.
Get down.
I agree.
Random Toto Wolff, get Michael on the phone. I gotta tell him about marzipan.
On the F1 app for the F1 TV, have the team radios. They should just have Toto radio.
Absolutely.
You could just listen to Toto the entire race.
Or like Christian Horner. Just
he'd be like,
Not good enough, damn it, not good enough.
Don't listen to Frank Tantz though. I'm not sure that's very interesting radio.
Yeah.
Best or maybe not. But I think you could get some really good radio that way.
Over at France Toast radio would be like,
yeah, good race. Great job.
Race. Yeah, all right.
Excellent.
Yeah,
19th was the best we could have hoped for. Yeah.
Yeah. Good race. Yeah.
So I think, but I know, I just thought that that's how they should spice it up. Stop with all this other like gimmickry that you always come up with. Gimmickry is not a word, but I made it now. Yeah. And just do that. Just randomly play team principal to the FIA and we'll be good. We'll just wait for that. The whole race.
Here's what team boss of Ferrari, Mattia Binotto, had to say.
And it's always a big emotion.
No, that's not Mattia. That's Maurizio. Arriva bene. No, that Mattia said
he
this.
tries to keep it in.
Yeah.
The emotions are very small with that guy.
No, it's always a big emotion. Mattia, he doesn't have a big emotion.
No.
No. He said, quote, simpler solution for fans to understand, believing that decisions impacting the race were never good for the show. This is, I think this is Autosport where I got this. It's about having something which is simple and has an immediate effect, is what he actually said.
Right.
Whatever it is, you take advantage of whatever the case may be. So keep it simple from my side. I see other simple solutions that would be the best. Now, I agree with him on this because I'm tired of track limit discussions, and we need to just define a simple solution and be consistent. If using more curb is gaining an advantage, well, that's fine because everyone can gain an advantage there.
Monaco's got it figured out. Jersey barriers.
That's Armco.
Like you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, put up a bunch of Armco around there. The MotoGP people would lose their minds.
That's right. Jersey barrier solves everything. It's fine.
Yeah.
We know where the line is.
Yeah. Yeah, MotoGP would like, timeout. We're not putting all that up around.
I mean, but they're removable, right? You can just put them.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. With
away,
Jersey
right?
barriers, you're right. With Jersey barriers, you could do
There's
it.
just a little machine that drives by and picks them up and moves them.
Yeah, it's like
right?
a little forklift. It just comes and picks them up, and they haul them off.
And we would totally know, but yeah, right.
It'd make every race a street course or a road course or a street circuit.
Yes.
It'd be like Valencia 23 times a year.
Right, without the bridge.
Without the moat bridge thing.
Right. Yeah, that was a great race. Please bring back Valencia for more races. That was a favorite. You thought Catalunya was boring. Woo.
Yeah.
It was always
exactly.
great. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, especially now, just pick something, stick with it. You could use, clothing, have that like ink thing in it. Like if you try to take off expensive clothing, the ink is supposedly, I don't know that I've ever experienced it, but that's what the tag says will happen.
Nice disclaimer there.
I don't know.
You know how when you steal clothes and you take that thing off and it blows up with ink and it gets on your hands and you try to get it off with Rust-Oleum and it doesn't come off, and then you have your, it sounds like you speak from experience, Grace.
But that's what they should do. They should just put like Tide Pods along the end, and then we would know because it would explode and we would know like
We could
paintball.
put like like a balloon type stuff with like powdered color, like at the color festivals.
Yes,
And then if they
right?
go wide, they hit one, it blows up, and then blue powder
Could
sprays
you
everywhere.
imagine?
And then
what-
the drivers who are going to have babies, they can have gender reveals on corners, and it would be wonderful.
Botas is having a girl. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it would make the Haas cars look great by the end of the race, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, I just think, right, let's go all the way. I like this, like the color races, and just then you would know, and you know
Yeah.
which turn, because you could color code the turns. Oh,
You
turn
could.
7. We knew it.
Yeah, turn
knew it.
7. You got red powder on your tires and car. You went off.
Nice
There you
try,
go.
Lewis. We got
Uh-huh.
it.
All right, next up, we're going to talk about something that we all are concerned about, and that's Bendy Wings.
I love it when Christian Horner gets Christian Hornered.
Well, he's not the only one, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Remember the days of the Ferrari flexi floors? Remember that?
Yes.
How I missed the flexi floor debacle and the drama that started, and the FIA.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough.
Those are heady days back then. Well, remember the front wing deflection drama? You remember that? They had the test, and it can only deflect. And yeah, well, they're back. We have a brand new controversy, as Paul might say. It's called the Bendy Wing. That's right. Due to some teams, and I'm looking at you, Red Bull, are using rear wings that bend quite a lot under full
Sure do.
aero load.
They sure do.
Yeah. Did you see the video some enterprising young fan
Yes.
put together with Mercedes with the line over it, and then you see the Red Bull dip down under the line?
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, that was great.
Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, you're not
was
fooling
great.
anybody there. Nice try, though.
That was great. It seems the FIA will introduce new load tests on F1 rear wings from the France Grand Prix onwards to reduce the team's gaining advantages by using aeroelasticity. Yeah, I know.
That sounds so nice.
It does, doesn't it?
I need some
it
more
does.
aeroelasticity in my life.
I do too. I've got a serious lack of aeroelasticity.
Yeah, right?
I've even got the hairdo for it, but I still can't get the
Maybe I can get-
aeroelasticity.
Maybe I can get some of that by summer break.
You know who had good aeroelasticity this past weekend? That would be Paul Charsley in the number 23 Aston Martin team, who
Absolutely.
finished fourth in
Finished
Ohio.
fourth. Yes, absolutely.
Good on him. Good on him.
He gets
All
the
right.
aeroelasticity award. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, Paul was built for speed, so
That's true.
yeah, there you go. To be fair, the FIA believe a number of teams have devised ways to pass current load pullback tests, but Red Bull were the main target of some enterprising fans who made videos of the wings compressing under load. Regardless, Red Bull's Helmut Marko helmet says the change won't impact. I just had somebody email me. Why do you say his name frontwards and backwards? It's like that old Rankin and Bass.
Yes.
You remember it? Meister Burger?
Burger?
Come
Yes.
on, man.
It's nice, and it fits perfectly.
It fits perfectly. Yeah, so that's why we say it. So anyway, he says it won't impact them as they haven't done anything outside of the regulations, and that this change won't be a big hit to their performance. He said, quote, "The wing has passed the load test."
Nothing here to see, kids. We're done.
This is Het Tip Motorsport.
Why don't y'all come to my COVID camp? We're doing great.
Yep, that's right. He says that is crucial. Now, there are new criteria that have different guidelines with regards to load. It's often the case when new regulations come and teams discover gray areas, but it's not just Red Bull being targeted. It affects other teams as well, end quote.
Dun, dun, dun. I wonder.
Who, AlphaTauri?
Yeah. I just think, now we know what Toto Wolff's burner count is on Twitter, right?
Right.
And, it's like a young driver, Fernando Alonso, those enterprising youths on the tickety talk, right? Like, well, we know what Toto Wolff's using as his burner count. Now we
There
know.
you go. I like it. He says, so Marco says that Alpine and Alfa Romeo also have bendy wings, and that this isn't anything new, as they had to change their front wing several times during their title-winning years. So he was saying when we were winning all the championships, we always had to change our front wings, and they were always trying to, and that was the wing deflection I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
The front wing deflection. But one could go back before that helmet to the Ferrari flexi floor.
I just think, I don't know. For a long time there, everything was gate. Crash gate, spy gate.
Yeah.
There's no Bendy Wing gate.
No, it should be Bendy Gate. It should be Bendy Wing Gate. I agree.
No, I think you're right. Bendy Gate. This sounds
Bendy
like
Gate's
Gumby's
good.
involved.
Yeah.
Bendy Gate.
Yeah. Bendy Gate.
I don't know. Like perfect opportunity. Missed. I like that. It passed the load test. We're good.
We're
Nothing
good.
here to see here.
Oh, it passed the load test, so we're good. Oh, you have some new regulations. All right, well, we'll have to manufacture according to the new ones that came in. It's not like the existing ones we are flouting. It's just that you're coming out with new ones that we'll have to readdress it. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Well played, Helmet. Well played.
Right?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right.
Total woofed. That
Yes.
That was pretty good.
So there was a little kerfuffle going on the interwebs. It was
Mass hysteria.
You recall, for those of you that watched the Sky Sports F1 broadcast of the Spanish Grand Prix, they had one Jenson Button, and he was on the team broadcasting. And he offered up this. During the broadcast, he was talking about Max and Lewis, and he was really focused on Max. Right. And here's what he said. He said talking about Max, he said, he's immensely talented. For raw talent, he's probably the most talented meaning in history. He goes, I know a lot of people won't agree with me on that. The most complete driver out there in terms of experience and the way they go about their racing is Lewis Hamilton. But for raw talent, I think it has to be Max. So Red Bull are not going to want to let him go. Well, you can imagine how that went down with Toto. No, Toto hadn't weighed in on this. But it didn't. That got a lot of tongues wagging and online debates about this hypothesis. And as anything online does, it got ugly very quickly, of course. On one hand, Mercedes is rumored to be looking very seriously at Max as a driver, and why wouldn't they?
Right. They're not idiots, right?
No, he's still the youngest driver to start an F1 race at 17, of course.
Right.
And you can argue that Button is wrong, but keep in mind that he did drive with Lewis as a teammate for 3 seasons, and he beat Lewis 2 out of those 3 seasons. So he knows him well, right? He knows how Lewis, at that tender young age, right?
Right.
And he knows that. And he's driven and competed against Max. So he saw his talent at a young age too. Yeah. So I think he does know what he's talking about as far as seeing both. Now he also drove with Schumacher and Alonso, which brings up a point.
Right.
About the best complete driver. I can't argue that Lewis certainly, ticks that box and is chief among that category for sure. It is interesting that he left Alonso out of that equation. And I'm thinking that is interesting. Now, I think Fernando can drive just about anything you put him in.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And while he is older now, and I can understand if he isn't quite the same Alonso of 6 years ago, but he's still bloody good.
Yeah.
And when I always think of complete drivers, I always think of, of course, Lewis ticks that box, but I always think of Alonso too as a complete driver. I think Sebastian Loeb as a complete driver, right?
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah.
What can't that guy drive?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, I'd be very curious what your thoughts are, Grace.
Well, first of all, I think this is what happens when Jenson Button isn't on with Ant Davidson, because usually he just picks on Ant, right?
Yeah, right.
And so that's his usual target. And when they're not on the show together, I guess Jenson Button has to find somebody else to target.
So it's Lewis.
Yeah, and just to keep himself interested, perhaps. But he had to target somebody else because Ant was, still at the home base, still at HQ. So, why not? I mean, I think
stir it up a little bit.
Yeah, right. What fun is there in just saying, oh yeah, Lewis is great? Like, part of his job is eyeballs, right? Like, and getting people interested and getting people engaged. And I really don't, I don't know. It's a fair opinion. It's not like he said, I don't know, Marzipan is, as good as Lewis. Like, he didn't say something really crazy.
No,
right?
No.
I think that most people do feel that as far as raw talent, that Max Verstappen absolutely is something special. I think that sometimes raw talent is what gets him into trouble, perhaps. But
Yeah.
I think, as someone who once referred to him as like a more skilled Pastor Maldonado, yeah, I think sometimes that raw talent is what gets him into situations that perhaps he doesn't want to be in. But I don't know. I think that and then people like to argue about those things. But that's the idea. It gets tongues wagging and eyeballs on the broadcast.
It does, and that's what they're there to do.
And I'm glad that it's one less time of Crofty saying something that's wrong. So,
or telling us about how he jogs the circuit.
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's on every broadcast.
I know.
Yeah, when I was out running the circuit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, Lewis doesn't do that, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
He neither walks the track or uses the sim. I'm like, oh, all right.
Okay.
Right on, Lewis.
I don't know. It's almost like CrossFit. It's like people that do CrossFit, you'll know it because they tell you.
Oh.
Yeah, I do CrossFit. You do CrossFit. Oh yeah, I'm CrossFit. It's like, okay.
I don't know. I do
Didn't
own a
ask,
Tesla.
but whatever. I own a Tesla. I drive a Tesla. Yeah, okay. Didn't ask, but okay.
I have one, just in case you're wondering.
I know you do.
There
But
you
you
go.
don't ever just constantly tell me that.
That's only because we only see each other once a week.
Right. Right.
For an hour and a half,
Right.
If I had more time, you'd probably...
You tell me about it.
Yeah.
And that you do CrossFit.
I don't do CrossFit.
Good for
That seems like... I'm firmly in the no pain category, right? Like,
yeah, right.
I do enough because I don't want to die, but I ain't doing that. Like burpees, I ain't doing that. That's just... Whoever invented that, stupid.
No.
Why? No pain. I'm not doing that shit.
Makes sense. Hey, Liberty CEO Greg Popcorn Fart Maffei opined in a Wall Street Journal call this past week defending Chase Carey's performance as F1's CEO. And he was discussing how these, quote, dumb Americans did a pretty darn good job of getting the cost cap in F1. Now, I wrote a piece about it on our website.
Did you really call them dumb Americans?
Yeah. Yeah, he said, yeah, everybody's going to be not bad. All these dumb Americans over here, we did pretty good.
Not bad for number 2 driver.
Yeah, and I wrote in my editorial on this, why so defensive? I don't. I mean, if you were offended by that, you knew what you were getting into when you bought a British racing series.
Yeah.
Okay, you were buying a European-centered racing series. Did you think you'd come in there as Yankees and not take some shtick? Of course you would. You knew that, so why so defensive? I thought that was in poor taste. But anyway, I wrote about it in the editorial. You can go read all my, festering pie hole about it. Not that anybody reads my crap, but you can if you want to. Anyway.
Okay.
So I thought it would be fun as an exercise, and you guys listening or watching, you can play at home too. All right.
Do we have some snappy game show music?
Yeah, I do. That's right. It's time for Rate the Chase. It's your chance to rate Chase Carey's effectiveness as Formula One CEO. Yep.
See, you were ready.
There you go.
All right.
I was. All right. So we're going to rate Chase Carey on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest.
Okay.
And I have several categories here, Grace, and we're going to rate him, and I'm going to ask you to rate him on a 1 to 5. We're going to start off with Chase's ability to materialize a 2020 season during COVID.
I'm going to give that a 5.
I gave it a 5 too, because that's what I said. In contrast to Greg Maffei saying he thought one of the greatest things was getting the Concord and cost cap done. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, right.
But I think really one of the greatest things Chase did is manage with all the pressure and all the financial pressure and health pressure.
Right, and real human lives on the
and
line.
real
Right?
human lives on the line.
I think.
Yep. I think he did a great job.
Yeah, and if you watch Drive to Survive, it was only like 2 weeks. So
yeah, right.
COVID was here, COVID was gone. We're fine.
right. Yeah, skip a bit, brother.
Yeah,
5. So anyway, I thought that was a 5. That's
Absolutely.
right. Okay, next category. Bringing the over-the-top mustache to motorsport.
Oh, this is absolutely a 5.
That's
I mean,
a 5.
Anybody that picks anything less than a 5, I have no respect for you.
Well, you're wrong.
That mustache is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go with that. I was going to say his love of coffee, because practically every picture you see from him in the paddock, he's holding a cup of coffee.
Worse
But
than Botas, who always has his little espresso
yeah,
cup.
he does too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Chase had he's got a
cup.
grande, nothing less than a grande, usually a venti. You know?
He's an American.
Yes. Yeah, he is an American. He loves his coffee. So good for Chase. So, all right.
right.
That was a 5. All right. Next category. Managing to keep the Hermspringer prong collar on Sean Bratches.
I think you get a 5 for sure. For stringing that sentence together, you get a 5.
Hey, all you people out there that have dogs, you'll know what I'm talking about, a Hermspringer prong collar.
That's pretty good, yes.
And that's about what it took to keep Sean Bratches under the porch. Let's face it.
All right. I'm going to give it a 4, but you get a 5.
I'm going to give it a 4, 3.5 to 4, because
Okay.
Sean, well, you know, he's a fast-shitting dog, and he's a hard dog to keep under the porch. So, you know, he did his best, but in the end, they had to part company.
Right.
All right. Next up, his ability to keep Toto Wolff happy.
Down.
That's a tall order.
Yeah, that's tough, especially when you're Toto. You know, when Toto Wolff walks, the earth shakes, and sometimes people fall down, Grace.
Mostly Jean Todt. Because he's the closest.
He's the closest. Jean Todt's got that low center of gravity, man. You know what he has? Aeroelasticity is what Jean
Oh
Todt
my
has.
gosh.
He's
I still
crazy
think
with it.
Whatever race that was where they were in the paddock together, like that was the tallest person and the shortest
Yeah.
person together. They were
Yeah.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. It was great.
Right.
I mean, Toto Wolff seems pretty happy, so
Oh yeah, he was elated.
I'll give that a 5.
Yeah, I give that a 5 too.
He did a good job there.
I think he kind of felt like as long as Toto's happy, you
We're
know, the fear of this battle station will keep the locals in line.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, you like my Mercedes star? Yeah, I was keeping the theme going. You know.
It was very good. Again, you also get a 5.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. His ability to set long-term vision for Formula One.
Oh, did he do that?
Well, Greg Maffei feels like he totally did. I'm thinking that's a 3, because if that was the case, he would have chucked the DRS and all the constructs and really come up. And it took him way too long to get to a new regulation engine solution. And
I think the things that you and I, as people who watch the sport and pay attention, it's a 3.
yes.
I could see that other people would see it as a 5.
Yes. I could see that maybe the teams, the expenditures, the cost cap, the finances, the prize money payout. I could see where the people involved, the stakeholders in Formula One would see it as a 5. I think as a fans looking on the outside, we don't see all that. Possibly we're thinking 3 or 4, right?
Yeah, I give him
or at least I am, right?
I agree. I give him a 3, but I could see that other people.
Yes, I think that's a brilliant point. Yes. All right.
5 for me.
What?
I get a 5. That was a brilliant point.
It was a 5 for you. Yeah, sorry.
5 for
I
me.
was slow on the uptake there.
It's okay.
I know, that was terrible.
I know it's late. It's okay.
Not good enough.
That was
You're
not good.
fine.
All right.
I mean, because I ramble for like 20 minutes before the show even starts, people. So Todd's already worn out before we even get to this point in the show.
All right, next up, ability to stuff Jean Todt under the porch and seize control of the technical direction of the sport.
Okay, once again, 5 for you. I like that as a characterization. Did he? I like this as a visual. I just want to have a moment with the idea of that mustache shoving that little French guy under a porch. It seems like
stuffing him under the.
like you can just see like the old school like cartoons, right?
Yeah, right.
A drawing that's what it would be, right? The
Right.
American shoving that guy under the porch because I'm in
Get the
charge now.
get the diminutive little French guy, the little Napoleon under the porch.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is exactly.
Right.
I can see that political cartoon in my head right now.
Yeah. This is a 5 for me.
Yeah,
And you know why? Because he got Ross.
Life moves pretty fast. You
You're
don't
right.
stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
He got Ross Braun
Ross
to
Braun
do the
running-
technical working group and set the technical side, which was always handled by the FIA Max Mosley. If Max was in charge, that never would have worked.
No, that's true. You're right.
Never would have worked. Max would have said,
Nope.
listen, guy in a funny mustache, get your Yankee ass out of here,
Doors
because
over
that's
there."
what we do. All right?
Right.
You want to talk about regulation changes? That's what we do.
That's
All right.
That's right.
So
All
that
right,
never
I'll
would have
give
worked.
that 5.
All right. Next up, ability to bring more races to the U.S.
Really? Yeah, 0. Can we give less than 1?
Yeah, that's a 1.
Okay.
And don't
Yeah.
tell me, folks, about Miami Gardens. That doesn't work, folks, because that just happened post, right? He tried to get that done a year ago, and it didn't happen.
It still hasn't actually happened
It
yet.
still hasn't happened yet. And if it does, you're going to chalk that one up to the brilliant, unique negotiating stylings of one Stefano Domenicali.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Chris Christie is still waiting for the New Jersey Grand Prix, so we'll see how
Right.
that goes.
Right. Chris Christie waiting for the
Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. All right. Let's see. Next category, ability to launch an over-the-top pay-TV service that was awesome and worth the $99
All right,
a
I'm
year.
giving you the full Ted Kravitz, like not just the head, the full body, like what the... No, 0. Negative.
Oh, man.
Where is Jessica Hyde?
Where is the OTT TV service? Yes.
0.
I know. Look, I think it's the right direction, and I have it, and I think it's the right thing, and it's a really tough thing to do. In all fairness to everybody involved with the F1 TV program, from content and all that, it's very, very difficult to do. And especially now that we get the Sky coverage just like they do in the UK, if F1 TV just shows us the Sky coverage, we can see it on ESPN. As a matter of fact, when you watch the ESPN one, you get all of Sky's actual cutaway, cameras and not just the global
shot,
feed,
yeah,
right?
Right.
So now with the F1 TV, you get the radio and team radio and onboards,
Right.
and so that's all awesome. It really is. But that was tough. So I'm going to give that a 3.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't actually own it, but I get the sense that people complain about it a lot. So
They do.
That's why I went with the 0. Like,
Okay.
I think this is when you're paying $99, it should just work, right? Like,
Right.
I feel like, that's, I don't know. It doesn't have to, you should have extras. I mean, I'm all for like the extra radios, all that kind of, all the extra coverage
Right.
you were talking about, especially if you already get Sky Sport. But then you have to deliver. And I just don't get the sense that it's ever really delivered that $99 worth.
Right.
So,
Then finally, the final one we're going to rate is the ability to get rid of Bernie Eccleston without it feeling like he was beating up an old man.
Hey, what happened?
oh, Bernie.
Poor Bernie.
mean-
You got to admit, it was really on the DL. I mean, they
It
just
was.
kind of opened the back gate and let him out, and then didn't renew his pass, and he couldn't
That's
check
right.
back in, and it was just like he was gone.
That's
He
right.
just like vaporized. It was just like he walked out one day and it was like, and he was gone, And this is a guy that ruled the sport for
Yes.
decades with an iron fist, and then just like magic, he's gone.
Gone. He's Kaiser Sose.
That was exactly. So that was impressive. I'm gonna give that a 5.
All right, I'll give you that. I'll give you
Yeah,
that.
because nobody knew how they were gonna get Eccleston dislodged. Like he
While
was on.
still
He was on.
alive.
Yeah, he was on F1 like a blood tick.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to wish ill on anybody. I'm just saying I assume he'd be like the crypt keeper. Like he would just be there forever.
Right.
So,
Oh boy. All right.
all right on.
All right. So usually, we used to do awards, and then
Yeah.
there was some complexity around that, and then I'm putting
Complexity.
it nicely.
That's great. I'm going to use that at work. That is there was some complexity around that. Yeah, that could be anything.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, I won't get into specific, but there was some complexity around
It's a
that
good
one
phrase.
and all that. And I did like my slashies
Yes, the slashes were good.
and my fun facts, which I'm going to share this evening.
Okay.
But Grace had a great idea that going forward, we should just have a section at the end of the podcast called Albon's Cats.
Right.
Now, Grace, explain why it's Albon's Cats.
So you remember from, I think, the last time I was on that podcast, they had, I went to look for the tweet, but I don't know, tweets aren't very easy to search. So
Yeah.
I couldn't find it because I really would like to give this person credit, whoever said it. But somebody had made the point that, some people know who won, the Italian Grand Prix in, 1978, and some people know the names of Albon's cats. And
Right.
I'm one of those people that knows the name of Albon's cats. And as we learned, Paul Charsley is the other kind of person, because whatever race I made up in the example 3 weeks ago, he went, oh yeah, that was James Hunt. See, I'm not that person. I'm the person that knows the name of Albon's cats. So I think that we will always have space on this show for some extraneous stuff. Like marzipan sunglasses, which are straight off of Roman Grosjean. Like we didn't miss a beat at all in the sunglasses world. And then Lewis Hamilton has to up the sunglasses game even more. So we're always going to have these sort of fashiony things or random things that
quotes.
Yeah, that happen that we're going to want to carry, but they don't kind of fit in the news. So I thought having a section called Albon's Cats in honor of that tweet that I now can't find, because there are many things that aren't factual race stuff, but should be brought up, like the name of Albon's cats.
But you've got to be kind of an anorak in F1 to sort of know some of this stuff, right?
Well, I think you still need to know the name of Albon's cats too. I mean, it's still an anorak. It's just the kind of knowledge that you retain, right?
Right.
I am not the kind of guy that knows that,
Right.
Oh, that was James Hunt. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, see, Paul does. But Jim's like this. This week's Jim for Albon's Cat section. And I do have to come up with some opening music for Albon's Cats.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to,
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know what that'll be.
What you know about roll?
No. So here's Albon's Cats section.
Oh my God, it's the internet. I'm sure there's some free cat-based song. I can't imagine. It's probably sung by cats.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure that exists.
Because I know everybody's still wanting to hear.
Lewis Hamilton, there's no stopping him.
Yesterday, Lewis.
Lewis Hamilton, there's no stopping him.
Yesterday, Lewis.
I know, everybody misses that song.
It's a great song. Everybody but Paul Charsley misses that song.
Yeah, right. So here's a little gem for you this week's Albon's Cats. Keep this in mind. Schumacher won Button's first race. Button won Schumacher's last race.
Right.
Alan Jones won Alain Prost's first race. Prost won Jones's last race. Prost won Senna's first race, and Senna won Prost's last race. I just thought it was a fun fact I found on F1.com.
That is...
It's trippy, isn't it?
That's like that, Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know.
Isn't that weird? Yeah. So Schumacher and Button, Jones and Prost and Senna. I thought that was interesting.
That's... All right. I'm thinking about that one. That's a good.
What does it all mean, Basil?
I don't know that it means anything. I'm just saying,
Who throws a shoe? I don't know.
I mean, honestly. But here's the thing. Next time you're with your buddies, that's some good, trivia right there. You could throw that one down on the table in between rounds and impress all your friends.
Earlier when you were talking of the Button, throwing in the SmackDown, nobody mentioned Rubens Barrichello. He did also race with him. What? He doesn't get any nods in the show either?
Best raw talent.
Nobody thought he was great? Rubens Barrichello? Man, it's salty.
It is salty. Oh, it's difficult.
Or Rubino. He can't
Rubino.
Get any props, right?
I know. He's a nice guy. He's like Massa.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, but
he's a nice guy.
Can't get a good shake anywhere.
No, you can't. It's tough.
He drove the world car too,
He did. I know. It's a bit crazy.
Also, speaking about the world car, I feel like we got to talk about McLaren's Monaco GP, their new Golf livery. So first of all, I do want to give a shout out that you have to watch the video, because it's Lando Norris getting to act. It's very serious. It's very so which then is kind of funny because it's Lando Norris, and so it's kind of like not how you. I don't know. I think if it was like maybe Max or Vettel or something, you'd buy it. But it's kind of funny because it's not really how we see Lando, but it's this like very serious history of Monaco and history of McLaren. And, you know, it was like, good thing him and Bruce McLaren are the same suit size, right? And it was, so it's good. But yeah, I like the Golf one-off livery. I think it looks great. And
It does.
it got Ricciardo and Lando on tires, which I do always love.
Oh, yeah, you got to love that.
So it's good. It's a one-off livery with drivers on tires. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's good.
So check
You
it
know,
out.
I'm excited. So, yes, this weekend, it's Monaco.
That's right. All that's missing is a diamond in the nose cone.
That's right. That's another good trivia, Slashy. Remember when they put those super expensive diamonds in the nose cones of the Jaguars and they both wrecked and lost the diamonds?
What could happen? They're Jaguars.
That whole thing seems like some sort, you know, if there was enterprising thieves, like they could make a movie how they snuck into the garage and cut and scored
Like
the brake lines or something.
Ocean 15?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? It's got to be
I don't know.
something there, you know?
I just think it was just like, well, who didn't think that was a bad idea?
It was a terrible idea. Oh, boy. All right.
Nobody
All
ever
right.
crashes there. It's fine.
Nobody crashes at Monaco.
It's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for this podcast. Be sure to join us at the website, theparcfermé.com, and tell us your opinion. Share it with decorum and civility as always. Huge thank you to our Patreon supporters because we could not and physically could not do this podcast without you. So thank you so much for those of you that have signed up to support us at Patreon. You can do that by going to theparcfermé.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see it says support us, and that's a link to our Patreon page. If you like the podcast, go to iTunes, give us a little love, give us a nice rating over there, and share the love as always. And we will be back next week, of course, to talk about what Paul would call the Monaco Grand Prix. And we should have fun doing that because Paul and I love Monaco. Everyone else hates it. Oh, it's pedestrian. It sucks. There's no pass. I love Monaco.
Oh,
love
Monaco,
everything about it.
If Monaco was anywhere but Monaco, we'd all hate it.
We'd all hate it.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's
But
in
it's
Monaco,
Monaco.
so we all
Yeah.
love it. It's
Right.
fine. Anywhere where Kimi Räikkönen can get mad and then hang out on a yacht, who's not here for that?
Yeah, he can park the car and just walk onto his yacht.
I'm done.
You know, it's awesome. So
That's
anyway, we'll be back next week to talk about that and much more. Until that time, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long, Grace.
See you in 2 weeks.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.